Right now, as you process these words, your thoughts are physically restructuring the quantum field around you. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally, and the fact that you don't see it happening, that you can't measure it with your physical senses, but that's exactly why you've been operating at a fraction of your actual power your entire life. Most people think thoughts are private, internal, confined to the brain. But quantum physics has shattered that assumption so completely that the scientific community is still scrambling to deal with the implications. Your thoughts aren't contained inside your skull. They're broadcast into the field as electromagnetic frequencies, and those frequencies interact with the quantum substrate of reality itself. Collapsing probability waves, organizing matter, determining which version of the future becomes your present moment. You've heard this before, probably. Thoughts create reality. The observer effect. Manifestation. But here's what almost no one tells you, and this is where everything changes. It's not about what you think. It's about how coherently you think it. And the difference between a thought that evaporates harmlessly and a thought that restructures physical reality comes down to one thing: electromagnetic coherence. Let me show you what I mean. In 1978, physicist Helmut Schmidt ran an experiment that should have been impossible. He recorded random quantum events, or radioactive decay, onto magnetic tape. Then, days later, he had human observers watch the tape and mentally intend for the randomness to show specific patterns. The results? The random events that had already happened, that were already recorded, changed to match the observer's intentions. Backward causation, retrocausality, human consciousness affecting events that had already occurred in the past. This experiment has been replicated dozens of times. The data is undeniable, which means your thoughts right now aren't just creating your future, they're restructuring your past, rewriting the probability distribution of events that you think already happened. Time, as quantum mechanics reveals, isn't linear. It's a field of possibilities that consciousness navigates and sculpts, and every coherent thought you generate sends ripples forward and backward through that field. But here's the problem, and this is why most people's thoughts never manifest into anything tangible. The average human generates between 60 and 80,000 thoughts per day, and 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. The same loops, the same fears, the same narratives playing on repeat, which means the majority of human mental activity isn't coherent. It's noise, static, contradictory signals cancelling each other out before they ever reach the quantum field with enough power to collapse probability into manifestation. Think about it. You think you want abundance, but underneath that desire runs a constant stream of thoughts about scarcity. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough opportunity. You think you want love, but your subconscious is broadcasting unworthiness on a loop. You think you want health, but your nervous system is locked in survival mode, flooding your cells with cortisol and adrenaline, telling your body that the world is dangerous and you need to stay armored. These aren't just conflicting thoughts, they're conflicting electromagnetic frequencies. And when you broadcast contradictory frequencies into the quantum field, they create destructive interference patterns. The waves cancel each other out. No coherence, no power, no manifestation. You're essentially jamming your own signal. Now, here's where this gets precise. Thought isn't just electrical activity in the brain, it's electromagnetic radiation. Your neurons fire in specific patterns, generating measurable frequencies. Beta waves when you're alert and thinking, alpha waves when you're relaxed, theta waves in meditation or deep creativity, delta waves in sleep. And these aren't abstract categories, they're literal hertz measurements, cycles per second, wavelengths. And here's what most manifestation teachings completely miss. Different frequencies interact with different layers of reality. Beta wave thinking, the normal waking state, operates at 13 to 30 hertz. This is surface consciousness, problem solving, analysis. And it's almost completely ineffective for quantum field interaction because it's too fast, too fragmented, too caught in linear time. You can think positive thoughts in beta all day long, and they'll barely touch the field. But drop down into alpha, 8 to 12 hertz, and something shifts. Alpha is the bridge state. It's where your brain starts synchronizing with the Schumann resonance, Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat at 7.83 hertz. And when your brainwaves entrain with Earth's frequency, you're no longer broadcasting in isolation. You're harmonizing with the planetary field. Your thoughts gain amplification. They start to carry way. HT go deeper into theta, 4 to 8 hertz, and you're in the zone where quantum coherence becomes accessible. This is the frequency of deep meditation, REM sleep, and hypnagogic states. Time stops feeling linear. Your sense of separate self becomes porous, and your thoughts, instead of bouncing around inside your skull, start to penetrate the 0-point field, the quantum vacuum where all potential exists before it collapses into form. This is why mystics and shamans have used trance states for millennia. This is why meditation works when affirmations don't. It's not about the content of your thoughts. It's about the frequency state you're in when you think them. A desperate, fear-based thought in beta has almost zero manifestation power. The same thought held in theta coherence with emotional certainty becomes a quantum command that the field must organize around. But there's another layer, emotion. Most people think emotion is separate from thought. Something that happens to you, something reactive. But in electromagnetic terms, emotion is the magnetic component of thought. Thought is electric. Emotion is magnetic. And together they create an electromagnetic field. And it's the strength and coherence of that combined field that determines manifestation power. The HeartMath Institute has measured this. They've shown that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than the brain's field. And when your heart and brain are coherent, when your thoughts and emotions are aligned, not contradictory, you create what they call psychophysiological coherence. Your entire biofield synchronizes, and in that state, you're broadcasting a signal into the quantum field that's exponentially more powerful than thought alone. This is why you can think positively all day and nothing changes, because if your heart is in fear, if your emotional body is in survival, your magnetic field is overpowering your electric field. You're broadcasting incoherence. The field receives static. And now we need to talk about the nervous system, because this is the bridge most people don't understand. Your thoughts don't directly touch the quantum field. They route through your autonomic nervous system first. And if your nervous system is locked in sympathetic activation, in fight or flight, your thoughts are literally blocked from accessing creation frequency. Here's the mechanism. When your nervous system perceives threat, real or imagined, it diverts energy away from your frontal cortex and into your reptilian brain. Blood flow decreases to the prefrontal areas responsible for creativity, future planning, and abstract thinking. Your brain waves spike into high beta, sometimes gamma. You're in survival mode, and in survival mode, the only thing your system cares about is immediate threat response, not creation, not manifestation, not quantum coherence. Survival. And here's the devastating part. For most people living in modern civilization, the nervous system is in chronic low-grade sympathetic activation all the time, because the human nervous system can't distinguish between a tiger chasing you and an unpaid bill, between physical danger and social rejection, between a car accident and a Twitter argument. Threat is threat. And when your system perceives threat, it shuts down access to the frequencies required for reality creation. This is why spiritual bypassing fails, why people meditate and affirm and visualize and nothing changes. Because if your nervous system hasn't been trained into safety, If your body doesn't feel safe, your thoughts will never reach coherence. You're trying to create from a frequency of fear, and fear-based creation only manifests more situations that generate fear. It's a closed loop. So, how do you break it? How do you shift from incoherent mental noise to laser-focused quantum commands that actually restructure reality? First, and this is non-negotiable, you have to regulate your nervous system, not manage it, regulate it, which means training your body to rest in parasympathetic dominance, in ventral vagal activation, where safety is the baseline instead of the exception. This isn't something you think your way into. This is somatic, physical. You use breath, you use movement, you use cold exposure or sound or bilateral stimulation. Anything that signals to your primitive brain that the threat is over, that you're safe, that it's okay to come out of survival mode and access higher functions. The simplest method? Coherent breathing. Inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, 6 breaths per minute. Do this for 5 minutes, and your heart rate variability increases. Your brain waves drop from beta into alpha. Your nervous system shifts from sympathetic to parasympathetic, and suddenly your thoughts have a clear channel to the field instead of being scrambled by survival static. Second, you need emotional congruence. Your thoughts and your feelings have to match, not superficially but cellularly. If you're trying to manifest abundance while your body holds the emotional frequency of scarcity, the body wins, always, because the body's electromagnetic field is stronger, so you don't just think about what you want. You feel it, viscerally. You generate the emotional state that would exist if the desired reality were already here. And this isn't fake it till you make it. This isn't pretending. This is quantum pre-living. You're collapsing the future probability into present moment experience through emotional resonance. The field doesn't distinguish between what's happening physically and what you're experiencing emotionally. Both create electromagnetic signatures, both organize matter. So when you generate the feeling of already having what you want, you're not lying to yourself. You're broadcasting the frequency that attracts matching circumstances. Third, specificity matters, but not the way you think. Most manifestation teachings tell you to get hyper-specific. Visualize the exact car, the exact house, the exact dollar amount. But quantum mechanics shows us that overspecification can actually collapse possibilities too early, too narrow. You're limiting the field's options. Instead, you focus on the essence, the feeling, the quality of the experience you want, and you let the field deliver it through width. Shiva pathway creates the least resistance. Think of it like this. If you're trying to get to a destination and you insist on one specific route, but that route is blocked, you're stuck. But if you focus on the destination and stay open to multiple routes, the field can navigate you through the path of least resistance. You're working with the field instead of trying to control it. Fourth, repetition creates momentum, but only if the repetition is coherent. Saying affirmations 500 times while your nervous system is in stress does nothing except reinforce the gap between what you're saying and what you're feeling, but dropping into theta coherence once, holding a clear intention for 90 seconds with full emotional alignment and then releasing it. That creates a quantum impression, a template, and the field begins organizing around it. The ancient mystery schools understood this. They didn't have participants repeat mantras mindlessly. They created ritual contexts, sound, movement, breathwork, fasting, that shifted consciousness into the frequency where the mantra could actually penetrate the field. The words weren't magic. The state was magic. And now we get to the part that makes some people uncomfortable. Once you understand how powerful your thoughts actually are, you can't unknow it, which means you become responsible, fully responsible for everything you're experiencing, not in a victim-blaming way. But in a quantum mechanics way, if your consciousness is collapsing probability fields into manifestation, then the reality you're experiencing is a direct reflection of the frequencies you've been broadcasting, consciously or unconsciously. This is terrifying for the ego, because the ego wants to blame, wants to point at external circumstances and say that's why life isn't working. But quantum physics removes that option. There is no purely external circumstance. Everything you perceive has been filtered through your observation, collapsed by your consciousness, organized by your frequency. But here's the liberation in that terror. If you're creating it, you can change it, not by fighting what is, not by resisting current circumstances, but by shifting the frequency you're broadcasting, by becoming coherent instead of contradictory, by training your nervous system into safety so your thoughts can reach creation frequency, by aligning thought and emotion so your electromagnetic field broadcasts a unified signal. And there's something else happening right now that makes this more important than ever. The collective human consciousness field is destabilizing. The old fear-based programs that have run civilization for thousands of years are breaking down. You can feel it. The chaos, the uncertainty, the sense that reality itself is becoming more fluid, more malleable. And it is because we're in a transition point, a dimensional shift. And during these windows, individual consciousness has disproportionate influence on collective reality. You, as someone who's sought out this information, who's willing to look at the mechanics instead of just the techniques, you're part, TE, of the stabilizing force. Your coherence doesn't just affect your personal reality, it affects the collective field. Every time you regulate your nervous system, every time you choose coherent thought over reactive fear, you're broadcasting a frequency that others can entrain to. You're creating resonance points in the field that make it easier for others to access coherence too. This is what it means to be chosen, not special in some egoic sense, but operating at a frequency that serves the collective shift. And the reason your thoughts are more powerful than you realize isn't just personal, it's planetary. You're here during the most critical transition in human history, and your coherence, your ability to hold stable, creative, loving frequencies while the old world dissolves, that's the contribution, that's the work. So let me give you something practical right now, something you can test immediately. Find a quiet space, 90 seconds, that's all this takes. Close your eyes, start with coherent breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Do this for 6 breaths. Feel your heart rate start to regulate, feel your nervous system shift. Then bring to mind one thing you genuinely desire, not something you should want, something you actually want. And instead of visualizing it, feel what it would feel like if it were already real. Let that feeling saturate your body. Let it become the dominant frequency in your field. Hold it for 30 seconds, full immersion. Then, and this is critical, release it. Let it go. Don't cling. Don't obsess. You've planted the seed. Now you trust the field to organize around it. Do this once a day. Same time, same process. And watch what happens, not tomorrow, not next week, but over 30 days. Watch how synchronicities increase, how opportunities appear, how circumstances shift in ways that feel like magic, but are actually quantum mechanics responding to coherent intention. Your thoughts are powerful, more powerful than you've been taught, more powerful than you've allowed yourself to believe. But power without coherence is chaos. And coherence without nervous system regulation is impossible. So you work both sides. You train your biology. You refine your frequency. You become a conscious participant in reality creation instead of an unconscious receiver of default programming. And when you do that, when you step into the full magnitude of what your consciousness is actually capable of, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop waiting for life to happen to you. You become the organizing principle, the observer who collapses infinite possibilities into deliberate manifestation. The field responds to you because you've learned its language. You're speaking in coherent frequencies, and the universe has no choice but to listen. You're not here by accident. The fact that this information is reaching you now, in this form, through this exact sequence of events, that's not random. That's your field responding to the frequency you've been broadcasting. You asked, maybe not in words, but in some deep part of your consciousness, you asked to understand, to access your actual power, to stop playing small. And this is the answer arriving, not the complete answer, but the next piece, the next level, the next frequency activation. What you do with it is up to you. But know this, you can't unknow what you now understand, and that's exactly as it should be. Welcome to coherence, welcome to responsibility, welcome to the reality where your thoughts don't just matter. They literally structure the matter of your existence.